So mine's, Joe kind of touched on it a little bit. When I'm programming for, athletes, field sport athletes, strength athletes, it's always not easy, but straightforward. It's, I know what I'm doing. And then when I go to program for myself, I kind of overthink, and I kind of know what part of the answer might be. But I overthink, and I kind of take, I think about all the things I know, and I try to plug it all in, and I kind of go down this rabbit hole of like, should I add this? Do I need this? Blah, 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 blah. So you ever find yourselves in that bias and that kind of rabbit hole of like programming for yourself and that introspective look at what you need to do, what you should be doing, and how to get around that.
I try to be as objective as I can be when I'm programming for myself, and it's helpful. Like right now, I'm prepping for a strongman competition in December, which made programming a lot easier because I have these 5 events I need to get better at, and I would just kind of look at it as if I was one of my own clients, what would I need to do to get better? So that's helpful for me. But yeah, if you have like a powerlifting meet coming up, or even just goals, I want to squat, bench, deadlift this. Try to be as objective as you can. And I would say that pre-planning for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time and writing it out is better than kind of winging it from day to day and saying, today's my squat day, on the drive over, what am I going to do? Actually writing out, I'll write out 4 weeks of what I'm going to do next. And then do that.
I mean, look at his arms. I think what you're doing it's working. Just keep it up, man. It's great.
You got it there,
What's that?
I think all of us at some point have had coaches, or we still kind of do. So, you can look at us wherever we're at, but like I said, I call him when I need help with programming. It takes my mind completely out of it, and that way I just do what's on the paper. I could maybe even write the same thing he's going to say, but just as like he wrote it, I'm doing it. That's how I operate. In the off season, I have the general idea, like I said, of what to do, so I follow that until I need help with anything specific. Could be the same with nutrition, whatever, but I think just having someone else to either bounce ideas off of or kind of give you some feedback is always, like, I don't think even as a coach, it's like you're not too cool to like have a coach or have someone to help you out along the way. And if anything, I've learned a ton. So it's helped me in that aspect. And it's helped me progress a lot further than I would have if I was on my own.
How often should you PR and
Every damn day.
and should you PR like a week or two before?
I don't think there's an answer as to how often you should PR. I will say that the longer you lift, the less often it happens. But as far as before a meet, I don't think you necessarily should strive to PR before that meet. It's nice if you do. But I would kind of save that for the platform. But I do, with all my clients, use RPE, which is kind of not really prescribing a specific number, but more of an effort. So if I say, hey, work up to a heavy single today, but maybe, you could probably do another rep. And if that happens to be a PR, awesome. If not, no big deal.
Yeah.
I'll add, knowing Kevin more as a member, should you be always trying to hit a PR?
No.
Like a single all the time?
PR, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like volume is good.
Yeah. Saving some in the tank goes a long way.
Yeah.
And you could even, if you really do love PRs, we all do, but if you're really trying to do it, you can do it in either way. Like, hey, my best set of 3 reps is 225, and you end up doing 225 today for 3 reps, and you say, I'm going to do it for a second set, right? That's you did it for 2 sets of 3. In a way, that's better than you did last time. So there are other ways. It's not always the absolute 1 rep max every day.
Or conjugate, you're hitting PRs every single time because you've never done the movement before.
Something different
every single time.
When in doubt,
What is this
hand
movement?
it out.
I don't know.
Advantages and/or disadvantages for using a belt for accessories, like if you're deadlifting with a belt and then you're going to do block pulls, why would you not suggest using a belt for a block pull?
Good question.
Great question.
I have an answer.
Yeah, so I think it depends upon the lifter. One of the things that I noticed, and I actually was a late user of a belt just because the gyms I was lifting at didn't have belts and so forth. I think it just depends upon the technique, the concept of bracing is the only thing that I'd be cautious of if someone uses a belt all the time. Where I've noticed on occasion for some people when they squat or when they deadlift, because they'll crank the shit out of their belt and they just kind of forget then that cue, right? And they use it so often, the concept of bracing first, put on the belt and then brace and lift. Or I've seen it also too, where they crank it so much that they actually have either like just their form gets out of whack where the belt's pulling them into another position as opposed to, the belt's assisting you. It's increasing intra-abdominal pressure. So if you have that under lock and your form's already good, I actually don't think it's a terrible idea to use a belt often. And that was your question, right? Like, is it like a bad thing to be using in your accessory movements? Yeah, as opposed to just the main movement. So I would just make sure that, not that your technique looks the same without a belt, but you know what you're doing bracing wise before you slap a belt on.
So when I would suggest not wearing a belt, I'm doing that so that I can
Artificially decrease the weight.
yeah, that's exactly it. Artificially reduce the weight and take the weight off the bar. So doing accessory movements, it doesn't always need to be heavier, right? So hey, you just did deadlifts. I'm gonna have you do rack pulls from the knee with a belt with straps, right? So let's say if I wanted Joey squatting twice a week, and one day he worked up to 575 for 5 reps. And I was like, you're gonna squat again later this week, but I don't want you doing 575 for 5 reps again. So I'm gonna have you do a 3 count pause squat. I'm gonna have you do a high bar squat because it's less weight. And I'm gonna have you go beltless, right? So it's still a hard training session, but the absolute weight on the bar is less. So that's how and why I say when you shouldn't use a belt.
But you already changed those two aspects by putting the high bar and
Yeah, so each one of those variables that I change is just dropping weight on the bar. So I could say you're doing squats, working up to whatever, top set of 6. I'll have you do that later on, top set of 6 with no belt. But that's only gonna take a little bit of weight off. So if I want a little more, I'll say, hey, it's gonna be a front squat. A little more, it's gonna be a pause front squat, right? So that's why I do and do not use a belt.
I agree with him. Yeah. Just a way to manage the fatigue, like long term. You can see how you're trending, or like I said, it's more about like a weekly RPE or a session RPE. So if you don't want all your sessions to be, say like 8s or 9s. So maybe on the first day it's around an 8, and then later in the week you want it to be around a 6. So we'll throw in things like variations without a belt, with a pause, whatever to any movement to help lower that, to just manage the overall spectrum of fatigue so that we're getting the strength adaptation and getting stronger long term.
But with that, it really doesn't matter if you decide, hey, I like wearing my belt every time I go to the gym.
Okay.
That's fine too.
It's a good fashion statement.
Yeah. Wear it all the time.
Oh yeah.
Mine's not really lifting related, but as far as YouTubers, us in the room, I guess you guys are kind of celebrities in our eyes. Y'all have a lot of subscribers. So I'm curious, outside of the gym, do you guys get recognized a lot in public?
Funny you should ask that. Only this guy here. Joey picked us up from the airport, and we're just chilling. We're at some cheesesteak place, and we noticed
The story
that
is so
someone.
good, though. Like, it
it's
is so
fantastic.
good.
That we're just minding our own business, and we noticed 2 individuals approaching, kind of behind us, and Joey's thinking to himself,
I'm like, dude, they want money.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like, I was
it's a
just
safe
like,
assumption.
Yeah,
It's
where they want a
not that-
cheesesteak. Like that's
Right.
literally what I thought.
Right. And she's shaking, and she said, "Are you Alan Thrall?" And Alan, it was weird. He had his sunglasses on, and he just didn't respond to her. So Joey had her and said, "Yeah, man, that's Alan." And then she's like, "Mind if I get a photo?" And again, no response. So we smoothed it out, but Alan was totally cool. Yeah, I'd say I guess it happens, and the most important thing is to make sure you check yourself to think that your shit don't stink. Where you start kind of that guruism, right? Where you start believing that, oh, I have a following, therefore whatever I say, I'm just gonna start putting shit out. And the worst part, I'd say, to be wary of if you ever get in the social media game, is that concept that once you establish yourself as the guru, where whatever I say, I'm shitting gold here. Like I'm just dropping nuggets. Where knowledge is domain specific, and kind of what Alan said in a previous video, I think that we recorded yesterday. The idea, it's okay to say that you don't know, and not always trying to offer the answers, or always appear like you're the person in authority, right? So just the idea that comes, and with that adulation and with some of that attention, it kind of feeds that ego and that validation. And so sometimes you start thinking to yourself, like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And that's when you start noticing, coaches that never have coached weightlifters saying that you should low bar squat as a means of increasing, your weightlifting performance.
Typically my day is home, gym, back and forth. So it's not like an everyday occurrence. But yeah, it's oftentimes people will, from a distance, I'll hear, "Train on, train!" Someone trying to yell that, and I'll just chuckle. I won't even look around for it. But I think that it's more of the hair and the beard that's obvious. And there are people who come up to me or who stare at me, and they'll say, "I feel like I recognize you." So they're not even subscribers. They're like, "I feel like I recognize you. I've seen you before." And I'll just be like, "I don't know, man." So maybe they just saw, in passing a YouTube video or something. But it's definitely the hair and the beard that sticks.
That's
It's
how my wife
easy
knows.
to recognize.
Alan Thrall's got the big beard. Jima Food's got short beard, but they have long
Yeah.
hairs. Oh, okay.
I think it was like 2 days ago, Coach Steiner went at Costco and picking up stuff for the barbecue, and a guy just yelled, "Coach Joe!" And I was just like, and it was a Costco employee. But the cool part is honestly, we all got in this to help as many people as possible, and you're literally looking at two of the most genuine people. Like honestly, and there's stuff that goes on behind the scenes with YouTube that you guys don't even know and you shouldn't know, but they're exactly how they are. And they haven't let the, the fame or whatever go to their heads, and that's why, I say who we associate with are all like that. But the cool part is that guy, I ended up talking to him, ended up coming to the barbecue.
Yeah,
So that was cool to me because he not only we had a conversation, but we got him into the bar. Like I got chills, like the community, like that's what it's about. You guys talk about that. So to me, I was like, that's fucking cool. You know what I mean? And then he had that really awesome experience. And what if he never, he would have never got to meet these guys, never got to meet any of you, or ever had that experience. So I find it fascinating how stuff like that ends up happening, and it's kind of cool if we can just keep growing, our overall, big tribe of just fitness and strength training, and that's why we got into it. So I find it's really cool when people come up, and I always try to just talk to people.
So I train for and compete in bodybuilding, but I think strongman is a heck of a lot of fun. So in the off season, I kind of want to compete in strongman, but if you go and try to just be a bro and ego everything, and you walk into a strongman contest without doing anything, kind of likely to hurt yourself. So how can I prepare for that without compromising my bodybuilding training?
I kind of disagree. I don't think that you need to be really prepared for a strongman competition. In a way, it's kind of like a fun circus sideshow. And when I first got into strongman, I didn't have access to internet. It was just like a flyer, sign up for the strongman competition, and a lot of the events on it, I had no idea. There was an axle bar deadlift, and I'm thinking like, we're gonna be lifting like a real truck axle or something. There was Husafel stone. I didn't know what the hell that was. So there were a lot of, but that was exciting to me. Like, I want to go try this stuff. So I don't think that you have to be, I got to come in there taking first place. You know what I mean? So you can have fun, but it's I would say start doing strongman now. That'd be the obvious answer. To prepare yourself, if you can find access to strongman equipment, start there, and then just practice some of it. But you don't need to be really prepared to do a strongman competition. You don't need to be really prepared to do powerlifting meet. You probably need to be a little more prepared for a bodybuilding show, but that's my opinion.
I would say whatever it is that you want to get good at, it's a tell a story of focus on that. Everything else kind of is secondary. Like I like doing jiu-jitsu. That is not my primary focus, so I don't set the expectations that I'm going to be a freaking animal when I go compete in jiu-jitsu. I literally would sign up on a weekend, just go and do it. So I would just say the mentality behind it is big. Just show up and have fun, like he said. Focus on your bodybuilding. It seems like it's what you're really serious and passionate about. So that should be on the top of the priority list. And then just try strongman, see what happens. And we've all talked about this. It's cool if things change too. If you start getting into strongman, you're like, okay, my interest keeps growing and growing and growing. Well, explore that. How old are you?
17.
Okay. So Yeah, you.
Why are you so jacked?
Yeah, you have a lot of potential to go do whatever you want. Don't think about it too much.
I should have said right off the bat, I'm not a bodybuilder, so I can't really give you bodybuilding advice. Check out Eric Helms on social media, and I know he's been doing strongman, not necessarily powerlifting, but he's been doing strongman competitions. I don't think that he's doing that in conjunction with bodybuilding, but he would be a more credible source than me.
All right, because he's bridged the gap before.
Right? Yeah. And I don't know, Omar knows him better than I do, so he might.
If you send him a message, he's that weirdo, he'll respond.
All right.
Yeah.